Kelly Davis, your host of the Untold Miracles podcast, and today we have a very special guest on the show. He's an actor, director, producer, host, and author. He's received numerous awards, including 12 Emmys, a Grammy, 5 NAACP awards. He's had many iconic roles, including Kunta Kinte in Roots and Lieutenant Commander Geordi La Forge in Star Trek Next Generation. The host of Reading Rainbow for 23 seasons, and he's the host of the amazing podcast, Burton Reads. Mr. LeVar Burton, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, thank you very much.
We are so excited to have you on the show today, but before I start, I want to thank you for all that you have done to support Children's Miracle Network hospitals over the years.
Yeah.
We have been so blessed to be on the benefiting end of your service for many, many years, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to support our cause.
I always enjoyed my time down there in Florida with the Children's Miracle Network family, and of course it's always good to see Marie Osmond. Whenever you can see Marie Osmond, it's a good day. Thank you. I really enjoyed my association over the years.
Well, we are happy to be working with you again. But on this podcast, LeVar, we talk about miracles. And I'm really excited to have you on the show because your life is pretty miraculous.
I agree.
Including a lot of miracles that you've created for so many people. And so I want to start out kind of in the beginning. Where did your love for acting begin?
Well, my love of acting began in the Catholic seminary. I was studying for the priesthood earlier in my life and was exposed really to the theater arts for the very first time and fell in love immediately. And as it happened when I was deciding what to do with my life, rather than become a priest, it was acting and theater arts that presented themselves as perhaps the next pathway for me.
What were your dreams like? And were they anything like what your life has been?
No. In a word, no. When I decided not to become a priest, I guess a little older than 15, I think, when I was really in the crux of that decision in my life. Although I was certain that I wanted to be successful as an actor, I didn't know what that looked like. I had no clear picture of what that looked like. Except for that, I did feel like it was going to be necessary at some point to have an autograph. And so I began working on one then at the age of 15, 16. My whole life has been a miracle. Every step along the way. Being born to the woman that I was born to, Irma Jean, who shaped me and filled me with love and hope and optimism, and the sense that there were no limits to what I could accomplish in my life if I really applied myself, which is to say, we're all born with God-given talents, but it's the drive necessary that's an equally important component, you know? I believe that miracles are natural. They're a natural occurrence in the universe. And that when miracles don't happen, something's off kilter, okay? That's my point of view. So every step along my journey I see as a miracle, both in the things that happened to me and the people I encountered. Being connected to Alex Haley, one of the greatest storytellers that ever lived, in such an intimate way, another formative miracle in my life. Again, Gene Roddenberry, another miracle, and his body of work, and becoming a part of that storytelling franchise. Reading Rainbow itself was a miracle. It was an opportunity for me to do something that I felt was really important, which was use the airwaves to the best and highest possible good imaginable, which was to, in a non-commercial sense, do something completely and totally altruistic.
It ran for 23 seasons and it had 26 Emmy awards. I would love to know, how did the idea come about?
The show was created by an educator turned television producer, a woman named Twyla Liggett, who wanted to address what teachers call the summer slide, which is to say when a child is learning how to read and they're cracking the code, taking that 3-month summer vacation really interrupts that flow, and their comprehension and reading skills suffer. So the idea was, and it was pretty radical at the time, we're talking, 1983, the idea was use television, go where kids are, and then steer them back to where you want them to be. And it turned out to be a brilliant formula.
It's just so incredible to watch. I was watching some of the episodes today, and the content that you were creating way back in the day, and the imagination and your creativity, it's just remarkable for its time.
It was pretty radical.
Radical is a very good term for that. So tell me, LeVar, how did you get started writing children's books?
I'm a storyteller. I'm lucky enough to be able to tell stories through a lot of different perspectives, as an actor, as a director, as a writer, as an author, as a podcaster, as a producer. For me, it's all about the storytelling and the sharing of stories and the enriching of our lives that inevitably happens because we're sharing stories.
Speaking of sharing stories, that's what your podcast does. And I would love for you to tell our listeners about your podcast, why they should listen in some of your favorite episodes to date.
Well, my podcast is called Burton Reads, and in every episode, I read a different piece of short fiction, a piece of fiction that I've chosen. I jump around from genre to genre. The only thing that the stories have in common, I say at the beginning of every episode, is that I love them. I hope you'll love them too.
People can find it everywhere, right? It's on iTunes, probably Spotify.
Oh, yeah. Wherever you download your podcast,
everywhere they can listen to it. And your episodes are usually 30 minutes?
They're between 40 and 55 minutes. It's digestible. What's one of the brilliant things about short stories is you can consume them in snackable bites, right? Mm-hmm. And they themselves are kind of miraculous in that a good short story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, compelling characters, and an interesting situation, and it's done in 30 to 35 pages, and oftentimes with a twist that you didn't see coming. That's not easy to do.
In all of the different stories that you've shared, you've been a part of so many because you are known as one of the world's greatest storytellers. And I know that you are part of the Radical King.
Yes.
I'm sure that was a very impactful story.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me one of the most impactful stories in your life.
Well, I don't think there's a story I could ever tell that has had more impact on my life personally, nor has there ever been a story that has reflected my journey and trajectory in life than Alex Haley's Roots. I mean, the story of Kunta Kinte, I feel on an emotional level very connected to that, but it's the story of me and my ancestors and our journey of not just survival, but triumph against an absolutely abhorrent system of slavery.
How did getting that role at such a young age change kind of the trajectory of your life?
Well, it turned me into a professional actor immediately. Mm-hmm. You know, Roots was my first job. It was actually my first professional audition. And immediately I had a career. And I'm really grateful for that and pretty proud of the fact that 40 some odd years later, I'm still here and still contributing. I still feel like I have something of value to say through the stories that I tell. And I'm still loving what I do.
So I know you're involved in so many different projects, and I know you're very passionate about all of those. What is your why? What is the thing that inspires you to create this amazing content on a daily basis?
You know, I feel like I was born to be a storyteller. Mm-hmm. And given that my life enables me to do just that, I feel duty bound, soul bound to fulfill that promise and to tell as many stories on as many platforms and through as many different lenses as I possibly can, provided that they all reflect our common human experience and help inform us on this journey. I think that's the value of storytellers and stories, is that they help us locate ourselves in the greater story of humanity, right? And I think that even when I was contemplating a life in the clergy, that sense of being assistance in the process of navigation has always been of interest to me, helping us get through this thing called life.
What is the thing that you are most looking forward to right now?
In my life?
Yes.
Most immediately? Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to being out on tour. I'm also looking forward to these midterm elections.
Yes, I think we all are.
I'm looking forward to the holidays and spending time with my family. I am a generally optimistic human being. and continually find things to look forward to as, those little bright spots on the horizon.
Well, you are going to be on tour with your podcast. I would love for you to share with us some of the cities that you are going to be visiting.
I began the tour in Washington, D.C. on Halloween. Then there's Toronto, the Hot Docs Podcast Festival, then down into Brooklyn, New York. I then go to Boston, Massachusetts, Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and I finish up, we've just rearranged the date, I finish up in the Philadelphia area at the Scottish Rite Temple in northern New Jersey there on the 27th of November, right after Thanksgiving. That's my last day.
That's great. So there are a lot of different places that you can catch LeVar on tour, so you should be sure to check that out. I have a couple quick fire questions for you. Before we end, I'd like to know one of the most common questions that you get asked from Trekkies.
I guess the most asked question is, could you see out of the visor?
And the answer?
No.
Not at all?
Well, not a lot. About 80 to 85% of my vision was taken away when I put the visor on.
Oh, wow. I'm assuming you get every day recognized for that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
Ooh, Lilies of the Field, 1963. Sidney Poitier won the Academy Award.
Favorite book?
Ooh, whatever book I happen to be reading at any given moment.
Your favorite podcast, not including yours or mine?
Let's see. I love Pod Save America. I love Lore. Oh, boy. I love Ira Glass and This American Life. I guess This American Life is probably my favorite podcast of all time. And it was a radio show long before it was a podcast. And it continues to be some of the best listening entertainment you can get for free.
Favorite motto to live by? Bring
your A game or stay at home.
Do you have a favorite episode from Reading Rainbows?
Ooh, boy, that's a toughie. I'm going to go with Hill of Fire, where we did the show from the summit of Kilauea in mid-eruption of that majestic volcano.
Oh, wow. And your favorite episode on Star Trek?
Oh, why did you have to ask me that?
I mean, there's 178 episodes, right? So you have a few to choose from.
But there are a good many I've never seen. I'm going to say Second Chances because that was my first episode as a director, and it had left an indelible impression on me.
And if you could have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, who would that be?
Alive, Barack Obama. Someone on the other side.
I like the other side. That sounds better than dead.
Someone on the other side. I would love to sit down and have lunch with Malcolm X.
Ooh, those are good. Okay, and my final question is, if there were 3 miracles that you could create in the world today, what would that look like for you?
There would be a lack of want in the world, which is to say everyone would get their basic needs met, food, water, shelter, and education. Number 2, I would create the miracle of a balanced relationship between humanity and the Mother Earth. I just think we're really, really out of balance in our relationship with the Earth. We're treading on thin ice here, folks, literally treading on thin ice because the polar ice caps are melting at an astonishing rate. And number 3, I would wish for every child born to be born into the loving embrace of family.
That is so good. I love those miracles that you've shared, and I am so grateful for your time today, LeVar. You truly are a bright light in this world, creating miracles everywhere you go, and I would love for you to share with our listeners where they can follow you.
LeVar&nbsp.com for the Skybrary service, our digital library for kids. It used to be called the Reading Rainbow app. Now it's called LeVar Burton Kids Skybrary. I'm on Twitter at LeVar Burton and on Instagram at LeVar.Burton.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Any parting words before we say goodbye?
Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. We will get through this. Trust me.
Very profound. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, thank you. I needed that today. That was just for me. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Untold Miracles podcast. If you liked the episode, do us a favor and go to iTunes and leave a review. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group, go to Untold Miracles and leave us your story about your personal miracle. Thank you for your support of Untold Miracles.